I transmigrated into the role of the bullied biological daughter, and right from the start, I fell into a self-justification trap. The fake heiress tripped over nothing, yet she insinuated that I had pushed her. My biased parents immediately believed her story, scolding me for being so petty. Behind our parents' protective wings, the fake heiress smirked at me with malice and arrogance. I laughed too. Seizing the moment when no one was looking, I grabbed her by the hair and kicked her into the septic tank. After all, no one would listen to my explanation. Faced with a self-incrimination trap, I chose to make the accusation stick. The fake heiress Rita floundered in the cesspit. Just as she tried to call for help, a mouthful of filthy water choked her. Mrs. Gray turned pale with fright. Rita, she wanted to reach out and pull Rita up, but the cesspit disgusted her, leaving her pacing anxiously at the edge. How dare you, my younger brother Nolan, his eyes red with fury, was ready to fight me to the death. Have you no sense of decency or shame? I'll never acknowledge a country bumpkin like you as my sister. Rita is the only sister I'll ever have. The original host had spent years doing farm work and was physically robust. Nolan's frail frame was no match for me. I grabbed his arm tightly, preventing him from scratching my face. Oh, fine, don't admit it if you don't want to. As if I actually like you, I responded slowly. But my foot moved swiftly. I kicked him right in the back of the knee. Mrs. Gray's eyes widened in fury as she screamed at the top of her lungs. Stop, too late. I grinned at Mrs. Gray and reached out my hand. With a loud splash, another person was struggling in the cesspit. Half an hour ago, I woke up in this body. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw a middle-aged man in a suit scrutinizing me. The disdain between his brows was unmistakable. Once we get home, tell everyone you're a child from our rural relatives who came to seek refuge with us. Got it. I look at myself, wearing ill-fitting clothes, the fabric washed to a faded hue. It's clear the original owner tried their best to maintain hygiene, but since today involved carrying manure to fertilize the fields, some stains were inevitable. In stark contrast stands the family of four opposite me. So polished they seem out of place in this rural setting, as if they're here for some farm-themed leisure. They came to recognize their kin and incidentally take the original host home. Mrs. Gray wasn't as cold as Mr. Gray, seeing my face, which was carved from the same mold as hers. The emotion in her eyes was slightly more genuine than Mr. Gray's. Valerie, the moment I saw you, I knew, this is my Valerie. She took a few steps forward, perhaps intending to embrace me, but halted when she noticed the yellow stains on my clothes. I put down the manure-carrying shoulder pole, tilted my head, and looked at her. Are you my mom? Mrs. Gray was stirred by the word mom, and a hint of maternal love welled up within her, but before the tears in her eyes could fully form, they were interrupted by the sound of sobbing from behind. The girl hid behind her younger brother Nolan, her face pale and her eyes rimmed with red. Glittering tears shimmered beneath her lashes, making her look exceptionally pitiful. That was the fake heiress Rita who stole the nest. Rita's soft voice trembled with panic and helplessness. Mom, can I still call you Mom in the future? With every word she spoke, tears streamed down her face. Is Rita going to be kicked out? Her younger brother was heartbroken, gently wiping the tears from the girl's eyes while murmuring comforting words. He turned to Mr. and Mrs. Gray with determination and said, Rita knew nothing about the child-swapping incident 15 years ago. She's a victim too. Rita has been the Gray family's daughter for 15 years. She's the one you poured your hearts into raising as the Gray family's heiress. I was utterly confused. Rita enjoyed 15 years of wealth and luxury in place of the original heiress. So how did she become the victim? If she's the victim, then what does that make the original heiress? But Mr. Gray clearly found this reasoning convincing. His gaze wandered over my sun-weathered, willow-uprooting physique, then turned to look at the fair-skinned, delicate Rita, and the more he looked, the more pleased he became. Mrs. Gray was also swayed by the words. She turned and embraced Rita. The girl threw herself into Mrs. Gray's arms like a fledgling returning to its nest, crying so hard she could barely open her eyes. After watching their touching mother-daughter act, the girl wiped away her tears and volunteered to break the ice with me. If big sister is too shy to talk, then let me be your friend. I'll help you settle into our family as quickly as possible. Her words implied I was some newly adopted orphan. Rita curled her lip in disdain. then condescendingly stepped forward to loop her arm through mine, yet when she turned back to Mr. and Mrs. Gray, her eyes were once again brimming with innocent cheer. On the surface, Rita appeared lively and generous, showing undisguised kindness toward her sister who might take away her loved one's affection, even not minding the dirt on me. She was a very sensible child, but for the original protagonist, Rita was the root cause of her suffering. Her very existence was a source of pain for the original protagonist. The more generous Rita appeared, the more repressed and resistant the original host became. But in the eyes of others, everything was interpreted quite differently. Whenever Rita approached the original host, she would subtly provoke her in ways no one else noticed. Whether it was with a challenging gaze or a lowered voice whispering in her ear that she was an unwanted burden, no one loved her. On the first birthday after the original host returned to the Gray family, the Gray parents, as usual, chose the cake that Rita liked. When the original host felt lonely, Rita, like a little angel, brought out a small cake she had baked herself, claiming it was a gift for her sister. Just as the original host reached out to take it, Rita deliberately let go first, causing the cake to fall to the ground. It looked as if the original host had dropped and ruined it. The original host was not good with words and couldn't argue against Rita, so no one believed her. No one wanted to understand if there were hidden reasons. They simply forced the original protagonist to apologize. When the original protagonist finally broke down and vented her emotions by smashing things, these people found it even more convenient to label her as an uncivilized lunatic. Such incidents repeated over and over again. With her vulgarity and bitterness, the original protagonist repeatedly made Rita appear as an angel. In contrast, in her previous life, the original owner must have been very sad facing all of this. The book I transmigrated into is a cliché story about the rebirth of the true heiress. In her past life, the true heiress Valerie couldn't win against her green tea sister, her biased parents, her freeloading younger brother, and even her fiancé from a childhood betrothal, all sided with the fake heiress. Valerie died of depression. Then, she was reborn. As if she had gained a new mind, she suddenly became eloquent. She kicked the scumbag to the curb, exposed the green tea bitch, and revealed the true colors of the fake heiress to everyone. Her family members switched sides one after another, rallying closely around the true heiress, while her fiancé fell in love with her after being proven wrong time and again. In the end, she ended up happily ever after with the richest and most domineering CEO in the book. The misery of her past life only occupied the first chapter of the novel, but these 3,000 words were the life Valerie truly lived. The author probably never expected that Valerie would develop self-awareness. After awakening, Valerie was still tormented by depression to the point of wishing for death. When she learned she had to be reborn again, she resisted with all her might. She had no desire to engage in petty battles with a green tea bitch, didn't crave her parents' love, held no expectations for her fiancés, chasing her to the crematorium, redemption arc, and couldn't care less about the domineering CEO who had never shown up. The plot had to continue, but all Valerie wanted was peace. Her powerful will summoned me, so I transmigrated into the book, taking Valerie's place to live out this lifetime's plot. Rita affectionately pulled me along as we walked ahead. After some distance, her expression suddenly changed, her eyes filled with undisguised disgust. "You don't actually think we can be sisters, do you? You're filthy and stink. My parents only think I'm being generous and sensible by walking with you. Remember, just now, even Mom thought you were too dirty to hug. I've attended elite schools my whole life. My knowledge and connections are beyond anything a country bumpkin like you could imagine. Valerie, I'm talking to you." I kept a straight face, walking with my head down, not sparing her a glance. Seeing that her initial intimidation didn't have the intended effect, Rita assumed I was just putting on a brave front. After secretly calculating the distance between us and the 3 people behind us, she sneered, "I advise you not to think about tattling. Even if you're the biological child, so what? No one in this family will love you. If you don't believe me, just watch." As soon as the words left her mouth, she suddenly threw herself to the side, collapsing weakly like a flower battered by rain. The delicate wrist was scraped, leaving a bloody gash. Nolan was frantic with worry and hurried over to help Rita up. His eyes burned with fury. "Valerie, how dare you push Rita? How could you be so cruel?" The young girl's eyes brimmed with tears as she stubbornly bit her lip. refusing to let them fall, and flusteredly explained, "Nolan, I just lost my balance. It wasn't sister who pushed me, Mrs." Gray's heart ached terribly as she hurriedly took out a silk handkerchief to carefully bandage the wound, her gaze toward me filled with reproach. "Mr." Gray's brows furrowed so deeply they could crush a mosquito, and he scolded, "Valerie, apologize to Rita. The Gray family has no room for a daughter as petty, cold-blooded, and spiteful as you. Everything happening before my eyes is exactly the same as what the original protagonist experienced in her past life. In her past life, Valerie was tongue-tied, swallowing all her grievances in silence. In the book, the reborn Valerie was eloquent, her mind seemingly enlightened, using sharp angles and clear logic to expose Rita and perfectly prove her innocence, but it was all in vain. Rita pouted and said aggrievedly that she had claimed from the start that she fell by herself, so why was her sister making such a big fuss? The Gray family members, who had just felt guilty for misunderstanding Valerie, were once again successfully manipulated into harboring resentment. Rita secretly flashed me a malicious and smug smile. I walked up to her. "Mr." Gray stepped aside with a stern face, warning me to apologize sincerely, and said that Rita was kind-hearted and would forgive me, Mrs. Nolan Gray also stood by, watching me coldly. I laughed too. I suddenly rushed up to Rita, grabbed her long hair, and dragged her to the cesspool 5 meters away. Before anyone could react, I kicked her into it. I bent down and sincerely apologized. "I'm sorry." After Rita fell into the cesspit, the system notification appeared. "Counterattack green tea, mission progress, 10%. But after I kicked Nolan down, the system font turned red. "Warning, happy ending, mission progress, -20%, Mrs." Gray looked at the two shit-covered figures floundering in the cesspit, both shocked and heartbroken. She wanted to jump in to save them, but the churned-up stench made her nauseous. She cried and asked, "Valerie, how could you become like this? Dad said I'm petty, cold-blooded, and mean." I sincerely gave a thumbs up. He's really good at judging people. When faced with a self-justification trap, don't rush to prove yourself. I chose to simply make the accusation stick, Mr. Gray was shocked by my shamelessness and roared in anger, "Let's go. A daughter who is neither loyal nor filial is not worth keeping, Mrs." Gray immediately turned to look at Mr. Gray. Upon hearing this, she was about to say something, but a sharp glare from Mr. Gray silenced her. Their exchange of glances wasn't because Mrs. Gray couldn't bear to part with me, but because the Gray family had no choice but to take me back, because Nolan needs a kidney transplant. According to the biological laws in this novel, only Valerie's kidney is compatible with Nolan. To highlight Valerie's grievances in her past life, the author established that the Gray family had long known Rita wasn't their biological daughter, but Rita, with her coquettish and childish antics, had the Gray family parents completely wrapped around her finger. The love of raising someone is greater than the bond of blood. "Mom and Dad, you've raised me all this time. Could blood ties truly outweigh the affection built from living together day and night? That sister we've never met must be enjoying her life in her own family. Let's not go and break up someone else's home." It wasn't until Nolan needed a kidney transplant that they began anxiously searching for Valerie's whereabouts. Faced with Mr. Gray's blustering threats, I laughed. "Then you all can leave. The people here speak so pleasantly. Everyone's a talent. I don't want to go back with you either." Mr. Gray hadn't expected me to be so unyielding, leaving him momentarily at a loss. The Gray siblings were still floundering in the cesspit. Nolan's already frail body suffered even more after being soaked in the sewage. I kindly reminded him, "If you don't figure out a way to pull them up soon, they'll be thoroughly marinated." Mr. Gray was so furious with me that his face turned ashen, nearly forgetting about the situation. He also found the cesspool disgusting, so he had no choice but to knock on a nearby villager's door and pay them to rescue the victims. The cesspit wasn't very deep. If the two of them stood up, they could have touched the bottom and climbed out. Unfortunately, they were too panicked, seeing that the villagers had already begun rescuing the two. Mrs. Gray suppressed her overwhelming worry and started making empty promises to me. "Valerie, Mom knows you're a good child. What Dad said earlier was just out of anger. Once you come home with us, you'll be the young lady of the Gray family, and no one will ever surpass you." "Oh, then I'll go with you." I nodded, putting on a trusting expression. "That's what you said. Don't say I didn't warn you. The Dung duo took a shower at a villager's house, Mrs. Gray had the driver take the car to the hospital. Nolan suffered psychological trauma and remained tight-lipped, silent after getting in the car. In comparison, Rita clearly has much stronger mental resilience. She even had the nerve to play the victim with me. Her face was pale, the corners of her eyes slightly red, and tears glistened in them, like a fledgling bird that had fallen from its nest. It was Rita who took Big Sister's place. If Big Sister is unhappy, no matter how she treats Rita, Rita deserves it. Just please don't hurt Nolan, sister, and don't break Mom and Dad's hearts. 3 sentences were enough to ignite Mr. Gray's towering rage. 3,000 Shanghai. His gaze at me was full of disappointment and disgust as he scolded me for my uncouth rural upbringing. Mrs. Gray was also deeply distressed, calling Rita her precious darling, without so much as a glance in my direction. Rita shot me a triumphant look and mouthed the words, "No one loves a country bumpkin." I twist my wrist. The next second, a trace of color appears on her pale face. A distinct slap mark. Rita is stunned by my slap. Valerie, Mrs. Gray turns her head in panic, staring nervously at me sitting beside Rita, her gaze as if looking at a kidnapper, her voice trembling with tears. "Rita is innocent. It's just fate playing tricks. Why must you target her like this?" The system popped up 2 notifications. One in green, counterattack the green T, task progress, 12%. The other was in red. Warning, happy ending, task progress, -50%. As if to reflect this red warning, Mr. Gray could no longer hold back and decided to teach me a lesson. This was a spacious 9-seater minivan. The socially withdrawn Nolan sat in the very front row, with the Gray family parents seated in front of me, while Rita, who insisted on being sisterly with me, volunteered to sit beside me. If Mr. Gray wanted to hit me, he would have to turn around. As his palm was about to strike my face, I caught his wrist. Seeing that I dared to resist, Mr. Gray flew into a rage. "Ungrateful girl, kneel down, apologize to Rita." I widened my eyes. Did he forget that the last time he asked me to apologize to Rita, I kicked her into the cesspit? "Dad, I only apologize for what I've actually done." Mr. Gray thought I was about to defy him and was ready to lay down the law. "Dad," I curled my lips into a smile, looking sincerely at Mr. Gray. "I'm sorry." A bad premonition surged in his heart, and he tried to pull his hand back. Ding ding ding. The system emitted a rapid alarm sound. Detected host's dangerous behavioral tendency. If the host proceeds with this action, the happy ending mission progress will plummet to -100%. I mentally communicated with the system. Happy ending means everyone making dumplings together, right? The system, you could say that. Some people kneel while making dumplings for others to eat. That's the tragic heroine. Others make dumplings with their family. That's the original heroine. As for me, I'm best at making people kneel while making dumplings. The next second, Mr. Gray let out a piercing scream, because I snapped his fingers one by one. The sickening crack sound echoed clearly in everyone's hearts. "Dad, you said yourself that I'm a country bumpkin with no manners, but I've done farm work since childhood, so I'm strong. I lack upbringing, so I have no inhibitions." The corners of my lips curled into a docile smile, yet the words that followed sent Mr. Gray plummeting into an icy abyss. "Why would someone as clever as you still choose to provoke me?" By the time we returned to the Gray residence after getting Mr. Gray's hand cast at the hospital, the sun was already setting in the west. Upon entering the house, the first challenge awaiting me was the nanny's deliberate obstruction. The nanny handed slippers to all 4 members of the Gray family. Deliberately skipping me, the nanny and the butler bowed at a 90-degree angle to welcome the 4 inside, while simultaneously scrutinizing me with a critical gaze, ensuring I could read the words, "This place is expensive, you don't belong here," in her eyes, achieving the effect of subduing the enemy without a fight. Rita looked sympathetic and tugged at Mrs. Gray's sleeve. Mrs. Gray stroked her long hair without saying a word. Mr. Gray snorted coldly. "She needs to learn some rules, lest she forgets her place." His voice abruptly cut off as I suddenly moved very close to him. His hand still hurt, and Mr. Gray put on a fierce but weak expression. "You..." I didn't look at him and ran straight out the door past him. Rita scored points again, her eyes reddening on command. Sister grew up in the countryside, so her actions might lack some propriety, but after all, she is the biological daughter of the Gray family. In the end, it's all Rita's fault. Let Rita go bring sister back. Mr. Gray frowned sternly. Don't you dare go. Mrs. Gray moved, hugged Rita. Rita, you're just too understanding, not like Valerie. That child really is somewhat unreasonable. It's good for her to cool off a bit and learn that this family won't tolerate her wild behavior. Rita hadn't even finished rejoicing before her smile froze on her face, because the next second, I strode right in wearing my dirty shoes, worried that there wasn't enough dirt on my shoes. I'd even made a special trip to stomp through the garden's muddy patches. Looking down from the spiral staircase, the expensive hardwood floor was completely covered with my muddy footprints. The situation unfolded beyond the nanny's expectations, leaving her frozen in place, even forgetting to clean up. Mr. Gray's face had turned green with anger. Before he could speak, I took the initiative and pointed at the muddy footprints on the ground. Tisk tsk tsk. The master enters the door without a welcome, bad review, poor hygiene, 1 star, terrible service attitude, deduct pay. Which housekeeping company did you graduate from? Your employee training is seriously lacking. The nanny's face turned green with anger. Mrs. Gray had to step in to smooth things over. She handed me a pair of slippers and led me to a guest room in the corner of the 3rd floor. Saying this would be my room from now on, she probably thought I was unsophisticated, which is why I was running around Gray Manor like an ignorant fool, not even knowing to change my shoes. Although she's letting me stay in the guest room now, she likely thinks it's already much better than a rural cottage, and I should be grateful. In her previous life, Valerie lived in this very guest room until the day she died. Everyone in the family, both openly and subtly, made it clear to her. You're just a guest here. I didn't refuse either, just fished my phone out from my inner jacket pocket, turned on the camera mode. Mrs. Gray frowned. What are you doing, Mom? Didn't you say you were bringing me back to be the young lady of the Gray family? I held the phone up to her face so she could see the screen interface. I just registered an account, and it's already verified with personal authentication. Seeing the verification mark behind the account, Mrs. Gray had a bad feeling. With an innocent expression, I said, I was planning to showcase the life of the Gray family's eldest daughter. Isn't where one lives the most basic thing? Mrs. Gray could no longer hold back and blurted out, have you no shame at all? I clicked record. So you're saying the millions of people posting vlogs online have no shame either? Alright, I'll include that statement in the recording too. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Mrs. Gray was about to join the green-faced family. But she still managed to squeeze out a motherly smile. If Valerie doesn't like this room, then we'll just switch to another one. I pointed to Rita's room on the 2nd floor. That one will do. Mrs. Gray refused. That's Rita's room. There are still plenty of empty rooms in the house. I switched the camera to selfie mode. Mom, if it weren't for the child mix-up, that room should have been mine, right? Mrs. Gray suddenly felt the moral high ground beneath her feet shrink. This. With a look of grievance, I said, didn't you promise that once I returned, I would be the young lady of the Gray family, and no one could surpass me? Mrs. Gray replied, yes, Mom did say that. Just as she was about to compromise, Rita's gentle and soft voice chimed in, Mom, since sister likes it, I'm willing to give my room to her. The girl with reddened eyes appeared at the staircase. Rita doesn't want to make things difficult for you. Mrs. Gray looked at the aggressive me. Then at the heartbreakingly understanding Rita, growing more and more satisfied with the latter. Rita, my dear daughter, you just weren't born from my womb, but we were destined to be mother and daughter. Rita let out a soft cry and threw herself into Mrs. Gray's arms. As she was about to flaunt the maternal love she received from Mrs. Gray, I rolled my eyes at her, turned around and left. If I were Valerie, I might feel hurt, but unfortunately, I'm not. I don't care for Mrs. Gray's love. As for Valerie, who once longed for love, she had been driven to the point where she'd rather give up rebirth than see them again. The next day, the Gray family of 4 went out for a leisurely outing, deliberately leaving me behind and telling me to reflect at home. It's just as well without me. Sitting in Rita's room, I reflected on how to make the most of the day by quickly converting her belongings into cash. After pondering for 2 seconds, I opened my account and started a live streaming sales session. Initially, the live stream didn't attract much attention, and netizens were skeptical about whether the items I was selling were counterfeit. But I don't just sell products, I also love chatting with netizens. I played the video of Mrs. Gray admitting I'm the true heiress of the Gray family on a loop in the background. Netizens dug up footage of Mrs. Gray and compared it frame by frame with the person in the video, confirming that all physical and vocal characteristics matched perfectly. As the hype grew, the main theme of my live stream shifted from debates about whether I was a fraud to a treasure hunt where buyers felt they were getting unbeatable deals. Rita's 90% new dresses and shoes, starting at 10% off, bags from brands C, D, H, and L, starting at 20% off, those unopened, high-end dolls, all at 30% off, luxury jewelry, these hold their value better, starting at 50% off. I started my live stream in the morning, and some of the earliest customers who placed orders were from the same city as me. They placed orders with me, either hoping for a bargain or to expose fakes, and I immediately arranged for delivery through a courier service. By now, they have already received the products I sold. After verifying the authenticity, they excitedly flooded into the live stream to leave positive reviews, although some questioned whether this was just an act. The continuously rising popularity in the live stream couldn't be faked. Seeing that the viewership had already surpassed 1 million, I solemnly presented the most significant item. Among Rita's collection, there were also some limited edition treasures she had pestered the Gray family parents to buy, items that couldn't be obtained even with money. I listed them all in the live stream, setting the starting bid at just 1 yuan. The live stream room was boiling. With the transaction prices soaring all the way, I was raking in the profits, but the barrage of comments kept calling me kind sister. The number of followers on my account was also steadily climbing. After all, I was striving to sell everything quickly before the Gray family's 4 members returned, with all transaction prices at least 20 to 30% below market value, a true case of buying equals profiting. By the time the live stream ended, 20 million had already been deposited into my account. Only a Steinway piano remained in Rita's room. Looking at this clean and tidy room, I smiled with satisfaction. I spent the whole day helping Rita clean up. She should be really touched when she gets back. As soon as Rita reached the courtyard entrance, she saw many delivery guys busy moving packages. She sneered, "You really can't handle being in the spotlight, suddenly coming into money, and all you know how to do is shop like crazy." I leaned against the porch, watching her with leisurely amusement. Stung by my gaze, Rita took out her phone and started recording. Mom and Dad despise nouveau riche the most. If they see this, they'll only dislike you even more. Suddenly, a delivery guy's hand slipped, and an unpackaged parcel fell to the ground, revealing a houndstooth mini skirt. Rita zoomed in with the camera for a closer look. Wasn't this the latest D-brand piece she had just snatched up last month? Rita's gaze shifted from disdain to shock. She hurried into the room and flung the door open. An empty wardrobe, empty shelves, the entire room, aside from the bed, held only a solitary piano, cleaner than her own face. Speaking of the bed, she noticed that only the bed frame remained. Her $2 million mattress was gone too. Rita felt a lump of blood rising in her throat as she started searching for the jewelry box. After all, the jewels inside were worth a fortune. Don't even mention the jewelry. I even sold the jewelry box for $20. Rita screamed at me in despair. "What did you do to my room?" I picked at my ear and said, "Keep it down. This is my room now. You agreed to it yourself, remember?" The venom in Rita's eyes looked like she wanted to skin me alive. At this moment, another large truck stopped outside the yard, and several workers got out of the vehicle. They were here to move the piano. Just moments ago, I had sold it too. Entering the house at the same time were the Gray family parents and the nanny. I waved to the nanny. "You're back just in time. Brew some hot tea for the workers." At Mr. Gray's instruction, the nanny treated me like air. Fine, no tea then. With 20 million in my account, even Mr. Gray looked kind and pleasant in my eyes. Selling this grand piano would mean another 7-figure income. Unfortunately, Mr. Gray came to his senses. He wouldn't let me sell it. Snap. Mr. Gray's halo shattered. I sincerely apologized to the workers for making them come all this way for nothing and compensated them with triple the travel expenses. After the workers left satisfied, the hot tea had just finished brewing. Rita's eyes reddened as she leaned against Mr. Gray. speaking in a pitiful tone that incited him to a furious rage. Valerie, you ungrateful wretch with no vision, apologize to Rita at once. Someone's got her back, and Rita thinks she's back in the game, but the next second, her smile vanished. I directly splashed scalding hot tea onto the piano keys, rendering the seven-figure piano completely ruined. Oops, my hand slipped. Not only am I shallow-eyed, I apologized with a smile to Rita. It seems I'm shallow-handed too. Rita immediately knelt down. Since my sister can't tolerate me, then let me leave, Mrs. Gray rushed over in distress. Rita, please don't say such things to break your mother's heart. Rita stubbornly remained kneeling as if taking root. Rita must kneel here to atone. If my sister doesn't forgive me, I won't get up. Mrs. Gray hugged Rita and wept. Mr. Gray's face turned ashen, his gaze toward me growing increasingly icy. I walked up to Rita, who began trembling at just the right moment. I asked her gently, "Little sister, would you prefer to get up on your own? Or would you like me to apologize first before you get up?" I emphasized the word, apologize, looking at Mr. Gray's hand wrapped like a bear. Rita shivered from the bottom of her heart. She stood up unwillingly. "It's Rita who wronged you, sister. How could I let you apologize to me?" For the rest of the summer vacation, Rita remained as quiet as a chicken, causing no trouble. As for me, I used the $20 million in my account as seed capital to register an entertainment company, hired a high-salary agent team, and began packaging my own account. As summer vacation ended, my account finally surpassed 1 million followers. The Gray family parents knew I was operating the account under the name of the Gray family's eldest daughter, but since they still needed me, they didn't stop me. In fact, fearing our relationship might become too strained and I might refuse to sign the organ donation consent form later, they even occasionally sent me small gifts. I gave all these things away to my fans. My reputation as the kind-hearted sister grew even stronger, and so we coexisted peacefully until, just before the start of the school term, Rita suddenly suggested that I attend the elite school where she was enrolled. She probably thought the school was her territory, where she could easily destroy me. In the previous life, Rita deliberately spoke ambiguously at school, leading her classmates to mistakenly believe that Valerie was a distant relative from the countryside who had come to the Gray family to throw her weight around and bully Rita. Filled with a sense of justice, the classmates began to bully Valerie to avenge Rita. When Valerie mustered the courage to clarify that she was the true heiress, she was betrayed by her own biological parents. Mr. Gray feared that the well-bred young lady he had painstakingly raised would lose her value due to bloodline. And he also found the clumsy Valerie unimpressive, so he falsely claimed that Rita was his biological daughter. Mrs. Gray had spoken up for Valerie a couple of times, but in the end, she tearfully acquiesced. A child's cruelty is always more pure, especially when they believe themselves to be agents of justice. Due to their parents' indulgence, Valerie endured unimaginable bullying at school. In the end, it drove her to choose the rooftop, where she despairingly ended her life. On the first day of school, Rita had promised to go with me, but when I reached the courtyard gate, the nanny, with a sidelong glance, informed me that Rita had already been driven away by the chauffeur. It was now the peak of the morning rush hour, and the Gray residence was located in a prime area, making it difficult to hail a taxi. The nanny crossed her arms, her malice barely concealed. "Oh dear, the young miss is going to be late on the first day of school. What a shame," I nodded. "Thanks for your concern. Didn't Dad just get a new sports car? Hand over the keys." The nanny sneered disdainfully. "Of course not." Before she could finish saying, "No," I grabbed the gardener's hose, switched it to high-pressure mode, and sprayed water in her face. "Will you give it or not? Give it or not? Give it or not?" Knocked to the ground by the high-pressure spray, the nanny couldn't get up, and I easily took the car keys from her. At the entrance of St. Mary Sue Noble Academy, Rita said in a sweet yet sly tone to her clique that her sister was also coming to study. The clique immediately chimed in. "What sister? Probably just some distant relative coming to freeload off your family, right?" Rita replied, "Don't say that. My sister grew up in the countryside, so please be kind to her." Her words only reinforced the notion that Valerie was just a poor country cousin, but her followers ate it up. "Rita, you're so kind." Suddenly, a sharp-eyed classmate noticed. "Rita, isn't that your family's new car? I saw you post about it last week." Rita frowned. only to see a red sports car roaring towards them, executing a perfect drift before coming to a stop. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Is that girl driving the car your sister by any chance? Since when do country folks drive so stylishly? I pushed open the car door and flashed a radiant smile. Hi, good morning. My dear cuckoo sister who's taken over the nest. Rita's face turned red, then green, then white. In the classroom, as a transfer student, I introduced myself. I'm Valerie, very happy to be classmates with all of you. Rita's lackey, who didn't witness the scene at the school gate this morning, was still following the outdated script. Rita, is this the country cousin of yours who came to freeload? I said, I'm not Rita's sister, the lackey retorted. Looks like she has some self-awareness after all. I said, my mother only gave birth to one daughter, me. The simp said, why is she acting so proud about it? I said, Rita was a case of mistaken identity. I'm the true heiress of the Gray family. I said, I've registered a personal account and often hold giveaways in the fan group. If anyone's interested, follow me now. You'll be an OG fan later. Rita didn't expect me to lay all my cards on the table. Just as she was frantically thinking of PR solutions, she suddenly heard the voice of a classmate beside her. You're that kind-hearted sister who helps the poor. I followed your live stream, but it's a pity I was too slow. Couldn't grab anything. Rita gritted her teeth in frustration, but she had no choice but to change her tactics. She stopped belittling my status and started playing the victim. I took over my sister's identity. So it's only fair that she sold all my belongings, but please, don't sell my piano. It was a gift from Mom and Dad when I won first place in a competition as a child. I'm sorry, I don't have parents anymore, even though you've already damaged it. Could you let me keep it as a memento? Rita lowered her head, revealing a slender, pale neck, her voice tinged with sorrow, like a drenched kitten in the rain. Her tearful appearance successfully stirred the protective instincts of her classmates. Poor Rita, suddenly finding out she's not their biological child. Who could handle that? What kind of kind sister are you? How could you calmly sell Rita's things, and to even damage Rita's piano? That's just too much. Rita's persona at school is that of a prodigy piano girl, which is one of the reasons she's so adored. Rita said, I know my sister didn't mean to spill water on the piano on purpose. Given her understanding of me, she probably expects me to arrogantly retort, yes. I did it on purpose. After all, I dared to break Mr. Gray's fingers without a second thought about how it would make me look in the eyes of the Gray family, so Rita assumes all I know how to do is throw my weight around. If I were to lash out and confront her head-on like I would at home, I wouldn't be able to survive in this school. This school has plenty of wealthy students, and a single word from each could stir up a tsunami. Not to mention, I did actually damage her piano. With a pale face, I said, How could you say that? Mom and Dad love you so much. And even our little brother adores you. Saying you no longer have parents would break their hearts. How could you just cast aside the years of love they've given you? A tear slipped from the corner of my eye as I casually stuffed the compact back into Rita's bag. Rita was utterly shocked. It's not like I'm some lunatic who goes berserk at the sight of people. For a moment, the scales of justice among my classmates tipped slightly more in my favor. Yes, the Gray family dotes on Rita very much. Thinking about it this way, the pitiful one seems to be the newcomer. Valerie. Rita, noticing that I was diverting the focus, couldn't resist trying to manipulate me again. Sister, please don't sell my piano. I beg you. I took a deep breath and put on a look of confusion and disappointment. I know you don't like me, after all. My presence means you can no longer monopolize Mom and Dad's affection, but how could you twist the truth like this? I said, just because I play the piano better than you, you got so angry you poured water into it, and now you're saying it was me. How did you become like this? I used to specialize in playing the role of the villainess. Twisting the truth was as easy as breathing to me, without a shred of guilt. Rita laughed in anger. She had always been the one setting traps for others. Never before had she been outmaneuvered like this. There were too many things to criticize, and for a moment, she didn't know where to start with her sarcasm. In the end, she blurted out, You actually dare say you play better than me? There was no room for lies in this matter. Coincidentally, the next class was music, and the entire class had to go to the music room. Rita modestly performed a piece, Ballade pour Adeline. To thunderous applause, under her confident gaze, I tied a white cloth over my eyes. She probably didn't know. I've not only played the role of the villainess, but I've also been the protagonist of a power fantasy. Don't embarrass yourself with this 5th grade exam piece. Blindfolded, I played lists, La Campanella, forward, backward, sped up, and even upside down. The music teacher clapped enthusiastically, saying she wanted to recommend me for further studies at a music conservatory. I politely declined, thank you, teacher, but I'd prefer to focus on my academic studies. Rita couldn't even maintain her sweet, delicate persona and lost her composure on the spot. How is this possible? Aren't you just a village girl? That's right, I am a village girl, and my family couldn't afford a piano. I put on a determined expression. In our entire village, only the village chief's family had a second-hand piano, and he treasured it so much he wouldn't let me touch it. So I woke up early and stayed up late weaving willow baskets to earn money for the chief, and even tutored his children, just to get a little time with the piano. That's how much I cherished the chance to play. With a piano as fine as yours, how could I possibly bear to damage it? I'm as stubborn as a little white flower swaying in the wind. Bet you didn't expect my resume to include an old-school Cinderella. After the music classroom incident, Rita's reputation plummeted. She went home demanding her parents step in to clear her name. Rita was crying so hard her face turned pale, looking as if she might faint at any moment. Sister has been twisting the truth at school, and now none of my classmates believe me. They say I not only took what wasn't mine but also staged the whole thing myself. Mrs. Gray was deeply disappointed. I thought you were just lacking in manners and could be taught properly. But I never expected you to lie and frame Rita. Don't worry, Rita. I'll go to the school right now and make sure you're not wronged. In the past life, Valerie also suffered bullying at school because of false accusations. How come Valerie could endure it, but when it's Rita's turn, she can't? I retorted angrily. Then go ahead and clarify. When I get bullied into depression and jump off the tallest building, where will you find a kidney for Nolan? Mrs. Gray widened her eyes. How did you know? As if I could no longer hold back my tears, I cried out. Of course, Rita told me. She said you never loved me, that you only brought me back to harvest my kidney. Seeing my utterly devastated expression, Mrs. Gray couldn't help but feel heartbroken as well. She murmured, Valerie, my poor child, no wonder you've been so resistant to your parents all along. You knew from the very beginning. A system prompt chimed in my ear. Counterattack the green tea, task progress, 70%. Happy ending, task progress, minus 50%. Mrs. Gray looked at Rita, her eyes filled with reproach for the first time. Rita, how could you say such things? Rita heard me twisting the truth again and was so scared she couldn't pretend to faint anymore, hastily clarifying. It wasn't me. Mrs. Gray looked somewhat suspicious. If you didn't say it, could it have been Nolan? Eager to clear her name, Rita whispered. Well, maybe. Nolan, who had been in low spirits ever since falling into the cesspit last time, walked past Rita with a hurt expression. Rita, it wasn't me. Rita didn't expect Nolan to overhear and was momentarily at a loss for how to defend herself. I walked over and gently helped Rita up under Mrs. Gray's nervous gaze. I said magnanimously, I understand. You're just saying these things to provoke me because you can't accept it right now. I forgive you, Mrs. Gray's nervous expression turned relieved, but I whispered in Rita's ear, I know it wasn't you who said it. I did it on purpose. Rita widened her eyes and pushed me away abruptly, saying, so it was you who framed me. I took the opportunity to fall to the ground, but then, the system's prompt tone rang in my ears again. Counterattack the green tea, task progress, 80%. Happy ending, task progress, minus 10%. The feeling of giving someone a taste of their own medicine is truly wonderful. Rita could only turn to Mr. Gray for help. Mr. Gray had always clearly stood on Rita's side. The cast on Mr. Gray's hand had been removed, but his fingers were still not fully functional. His expression was cold. Since you already know, let's go to the hospital tomorrow to sign the papers. You'll just lose a kidney, but it could save your brother's life. Mrs. Gray seemed hesitant to speak, but in the end, she simply avoided my gaze. Undeterred, I slightly turned my body, angling my face toward a small, hidden red dot in the right front. Suddenly, I dropped to my knees, tears welling up in my eyes. Please, just let me take the college entrance exam first. I've worked so hard for this chance to study. I don't want to miss it because of a kidney removal surgery." My submissive demeanor pleased Mr. Gray. He thought that although I was acting tough, I was ultimately still a child who would back down when faced with a major surgery like organ removal. But he didn't want to let me off that easily. Mr. Gray had long noticed my tendency to fall into self-proving traps and deliberately provoked me by saying, "Your foundation is so weak, there's no point in studying anyway, you'll never get into college, and when the results come out, it'll only be more humiliating." He probably thought saying this would make me give up on myself to spite him, thereby embarrassing him in return. With lowered eyes and a submissive demeanor, I replied, "Father is right, my foundation is weak, so I must work hard to catch up. Health is the foundation of all endeavors. How could I possibly donate a kidney at such a critical moment? Just kidding, only when something is unfavorable to oneself does one insist on proving guilt. If one still acts this way when it benefits them, wouldn't that be foolish?" With red-rimmed eyes, I looked at Mrs. Gray, seeing my face that resembled hers. She finally stood up for me once and agreed to let me take the college entrance exam first. Having experienced hundreds of small worlds and taken various college entrance exams, the cultural subjects weren't difficult for me. When the exam scores were released, mine wasn't there. Mr. Gray thought I hadn't even passed the college entrance exam. When the admission offices of Tsinghua and Peking University called home one after another to announce the good news, he finally realized I was actually the provincial top scorer. I had been running my own social media account as a minor influencer, and now my popularity soared even higher. I provided free advertising for the Gray family business, even causing the company's stock price to rise for several consecutive days. Everyone praises Mr. Gray for having such a wonderful daughter, but Mr. Gray can't bring himself to smile, because I've gone missing ever since the day the results came out. I left the Gray residence and moved into the apartment I had rented in advance. Now, I'm a highly sought-after internet celebrity, the top provincial scholar coveted by both Peking and Tsinghua universities. Mr. Gray was worried that I was uncontrollable and would refuse to donate a kidney to Nolan, so he ultimately decided to expose my dark secrets to the public. He claimed I was vicious by nature, that he merely disciplined me, and I violently broke his fingers in response. Leaving his hand aching on rainy days, he accused me of being greedy for money, saying I sold off all of my sister's belongings on the very first day I returned home and bullied her relentlessly. He also alleged that I was a compulsive liar, deliberately destroying my sister's piano and then shifting the blame onto others. Mr. Gray flooded the internet with paid promotions, branding me as disloyal, unfilial, and dishonorable, the most disgraceful provincial top scorer in history. He declared that any university admitting me would be tarnishing its own reputation. Under his incitement, countless uninformed netizens began questioning my character, even urging both Peking University and Tsinghua University to reject my admission. Facing the malicious comments from the public, I released a video with the caption, "Actually, I have another crime, not being fraternal. They wanted to cut out my kidney to save my younger brother. But I actually refused and still wanted to take the college entrance exam. I'm really a terrible person." In the video, the man's aggressive demeanor formed a stark contrast with the pitiful girl kneeling on the ground. In an instant, public opinion reversed, and the Gray family's stocks plummeted. Gray family's competitors seized the opportunity to kick them while they were down, poaching their business partners. Minor shareholders began questioning Mr. Gray's competence and character, with many considering selling their shares. Regarding competence, faced with such a major PR crisis, he failed to promptly produce solutions, making his leadership unconvincing. Regarding character, if Mr. Gray could treat his own biological daughter with such cruelty, who could believe he would protect minor shareholders' interests? These days, Mr. Gray has been as frantic as an ant on a hot pan, calling me incessantly, pressuring me to delete the video and admit that I fabricated it. I answered the phone, "Transfer Nolan's shares to me, and I'll do as you wish." Mr. Gray refused without a second thought. After the Gray family business went public, the shares were heavily diluted. He and Nolan are acting in concert, and only by combining their shares can they maintain control. He absolutely doesn't believe I would side with him. If he were to give me Nolan's shares, the Gray family's company would likely descend into chaos. Mr. Gray put on a pained expression, trying to deceive me into thinking I didn't understand corporate law. I can't give you the shares, but I can make you the legal representative of the company. I scoffed. Do I look like an idiot to you, Mr. Gray still wanted to play the emotional card, but all he got in return was the busy tone of a disconnected call, to emphasize her presence. Rita went live to play the victim. On the screen, she cried with pear blossoms bathed in rain. Seeing him suffer like this, I truly wish I could take his place. It's just a pity my kidney can't be given to Nolan. Nolan gazed at Rita with lingering tenderness and gentleness. Rita, I'm so happy you feel this way. I've said it before, you'll always be my one and only sister. This profound sibling bond moved many onlookers, who even came to my account to berate me, upon hearing the news. I connected to Rita's live stream. Rita thought she had secured the moral high ground this time and accepted my live connection. As soon as I entered the live stream, my first sentence made her regret it instantly. You can take his place. I found a suitable kidney donor for my brother in the support group. As long as you're willing to donate yours, the donor's family has agreed to provide one for him. Rita's face turned deathly pale, but with the atmosphere already charged. The sympathetic viewers who had just been moved to tears by the divine sibling bond moments ago now became the sharp blade hanging over her neck. Rita had no choice but to reluctantly agree. I knew it was just a delaying tactic. She planned to find an excuse to back out later, but I wouldn't give her the chance. The next day, I showed up at her door with the other parents and reporters in tow. As soon as Rita's parents saw her, they knelt down and kowtowed to her, saying that as long as Rita was willing to donate a kidney, they would immediately save the person. Under the camera of the reporter, Rita trembled like a sieve, a stark contrast to the fearless and affectionate image she portrayed in yesterday's live stream. Nolan understood everything the moment he saw Rita's demeanor. His face was even paler than Rita's. Rita, I don't want to see you get hurt. If I have to live at the cost of your kidney, I'd rather die. But were all those words you said just lies? But Rita no longer had the energy to manage the fish pond crisis. The reporters smelled a sensational story and relentlessly pursued Rita, pressuring her to make a statement on the spot. Mrs. Gray pulled Rita aside with concern. Our Rita is still so young. If she loses a kidney, what will become of her in the future? The reporters immediately turned their cameras toward me, and I cooperatively posed the question, if she can't, then why can I? Mrs. Gray's embrace of Rita stiffened, while Mr. Gray angrily scolded me as an ungrateful wretch. The system's voice rang out again. Counterattack green tea, mission progress, 90%. Happy ending, mission progress, minus 100%. In the close-up shot from the reporters, I shed tears of grievance. You knew all along that Rita wasn't your biological child, but you only remembered me when your son needed a kidney transplant. How am I the ungrateful one? I'm clearly just a tool. After this live broadcast, the Gray family's stock price plummeted straight toward penny stock territory. Mr. Gray could no longer sit still and decided to swallow his pride to negotiate with me. At the negotiation table, Mr. Gray said, first, you delete the video, then, you clarify that you were just going through a rebellious phase, jealous of your sister, so you deliberately fabricated the story about us forcing you to donate a kidney. We never pressured you, it was all your voluntary choice. Finally, sign the organ donation consent form, start taking anti-rejection medication now, and donate a kidney to your brother next month. I patiently listened to the end. That's it. Seeing I wasn't resisting, Mr. Gray couldn't help but beam with joy. Dad always knew you were tough on the outside but soft inside, still caring about your family deep down. I'm about to vomit from listening to this, so I cut him off. What's in it for me from what you just said? Mr. Gray furrowed his brows, displeased, and said, after all, you are a part of the Gray family. We rise and fall together. Stop making a scene. If you comply obediently, the benefit is that we are willing to accept you without holding grudges. I suppressed the urge to roll my eyes. Mr. Gray, we don't have the kind of relationship where we can talk about feelings. Talking about feelings hurts money. Hand over 50 million, and I guarantee the Gray family's stock will recover. Upon hearing the demand for money, Mr. Gray's expression turned stern, exuding an intimidating aura without anger, and he threatened me. Valerie, this is extortion. I can sue you. I pretended not to notice the hostility, lightly tapping the table with my knuckles. Mr. Sue, your company is currently facing a public relations crisis that could determine its survival. As I spoke, I handed a business card to Mr. Gray, flashing a professional smile. This isn't blackmail, it's business. This was a newly established PR firm, with my name boldly listed as the chairman in the registration documents. Mr. Gray was incredulous. When did you register this company? I modestly clasped my hands together. Just a side hustle. That very afternoon, an extra 50 million appeared in my account. The next day, as the stock market opened, the Gray family's stock price indeed began to recover. Before Mr. Gray could even celebrate, he saw me swaggering into the Gray family company. Mr. Gray scolded me angrily. What are you doing here? This is no place for your nonsense. Ignoring him, I walked straight into the company's largest conference room. Seeing me in his territory and showing such disrespect, Mr. Gray decided to teach me a lesson by calling security to throw me out. After shouting for a long time with no response from security, the head guard even bowed to me and said, "Good afternoon, Miss Gray," before Mr. Gray could even express his surprise. He watched helplessly as his secretary greeted me warmly. "Good day, Miss Gray. Shall we convene the shareholders' meeting?" I responded sweetly, "Yes, thank you, sister." Mr. Gray felt the world spinning around him, his trembling finger pointing at the secretary. You betrayed me." The chairman's secretary looked at Mr. Gray with a mix of pity and mockery in her eyes. "You must not have heard yet, but Miss Gray is now the actual controller of the company. After the shareholders' meeting is convened shortly, we will elect Miss Gray as the new chairman. My position is that of the chairman's secretary. Whoever holds the title of chairman is whom I serve. How can this be called betrayal, when the Gray family's stock price initially declined and small shareholders were hesitant? I began gradually buying up shares at low prices from retail investors. A few days ago, after Rita's live stream crisis, the small shareholders completely lost faith in Mr. Gray and fled in droves. I was more than happy to be the one to take over their shares. A mandatory tender offer is only triggered when shareholding exceeds 30%. However, Mr. Gray and Nolan's combined holdings amounted to just 25%. At this point, I held 29% of the shares, officially becoming the controlling shareholder of the Gray family. Without prematurely alerting Mr. Gray, Mr. Gray couldn't believe it. The family business he had taken over, which hadn't even been passed down to his son yet, had been snatched away by some country bumpkin who came out of nowhere. He pointed at my face, his hand trembling like he had Parkinson's, but not a single word escaped his lips. I smiled understandingly. "Dad, perhaps you've heard of the barbarians at the gate." Mr. Gray's final attempt to turn the tables was to sue me, accusing my PR company of taking money without doing the work, but he undoubtedly lost, because he was too arrogant, thinking I set up the company just to avoid charges of extortion, and never took me seriously. He signed the contract with a flourish, unaware that the terms were heavily against him. I asked him kindly, "Dad, just tell me, did the stock price go up or not?" Mr. Gray was so furious with me that he nearly coughed up blood. After this incident, I completely severed ties with the Gray family. They finally realized that they couldn't count on me for the kidney transplant. But Nolan couldn't wait any longer. Left with no choice, Mrs. Gray had to force Rita to exchange kidneys through a mutual aid group. This was what the system told me. Notification. Progress of the Counter the Green Tea Bitch mission, 100%. Nolan successfully underwent a kidney transplant, but the situation isn't looking good. Since he didn't receive my plot kidney, he developed severe rejection symptoms. Although it's not fatal, it requires a lot of money to keep him stable. Unfortunately, their misfortunes never come singly. I joined forces with shareholders holding 67% of the company's shares to amend the corporate bylaws, stipulating that only shareholders with over 25% ownership can hold board seats, successfully ousting the Gray family father and son from the board. Afterwards, the board also decided that there would be no dividends for the next 5 years, and all profits would be reinvested into the company's development. This way, as long as Mr. Gray doesn't sell his shares, the stocks in his hands become worthless paper, and the 50 million I previously demanded from him completely drained his cash flow. Mr. Gray, holding his breath in anger, naturally refused to sell his shares. Now, in order to cover Nolan's medical expenses, The Gray family has even resorted to selling off their assets. In desperation, Mrs. Gray came to me seeking reconciliation, looking at the still minus 100% happy ending task. I shook my head. Your heart isn't sincere, so it's hard for me to help. Mrs. Gray forced an awkward smile. How could that be? Mom truly knows she was wrong. Mom shouldn't have been biased before. I nodded. That's right. But you won't be able to play favorites anymore if Nolan is gone. I'll be the only biological child you have left. Mrs. Gray was a bit unhappy but didn't dare to be too forceful, muttering under her breath. How can you talk about your brother like that? Besides, Rita was raised by me, and we have a very close relationship. Rita, you can't count on her. She's got a big grudge against you for forcing her to donate a kidney. I smiled and handed Mrs. Gray an envelope. Inside was a voice recorder, clearly capturing Rita's warm greetings to Mrs. Gray before the surgery. Mrs. Gray's face stiffened, and she stubbornly insisted, impossible, Rita would never say such things. The notification tone, however, was brutally honest. Happy ending, mission progress, minus 75%, I said, pretending to be hurt. You gave birth to me, and my brother shares my blood. I'm not a heartless person. It's just that you've been too biased. Mom. Mrs. Gray's expression softened slightly, revealing a hint of melancholy. Happy ending, mission progress, minus 50%. I said, persuasively, think about it. Didn't you treat me unkindly first? Which is why I responded in kind. Happy ending, mission progress, minus 25%, I said, combining kindness with severity. I hope you can clearly understand who you can rely on in the future. Besides me. Happy ending, mission progress, 0%. Mrs. Gray has always been accustomed to depending on others and lacks independent judgment. Moreover, Mrs. Gray's rapidly rising favorability clearly shows her ability to recognize the current situation. However, no matter what else I said, the task value remained stuck at 0 without budging. It seems that Mrs. Gray's reconciliation alone wasn't enough. I decisively initiated Plan B, handing Mrs. Gray a second envelope containing a paternity test. The test results showed that Rita had no blood relation to Mrs. Gray, but was indeed the biological daughter of Mr. Gray. Mrs. Gray was as if struck by lightning. Mom, it seems the root of everything that's happened to us lies with Dad, I said with a hint of melancholy. You should have had a happy and harmonious family, but your unfaithful husband switched the babies, not only making you raise the mistress's daughter with your own hands but also causing your own children to turn against each other. You worked hard to be a good wife and mother, only to end up with a son addicted to medicine and a daughter who disowns you. When Mrs. Gray left, she was utterly devastated. I didn't know if she could help me complete my task, but I chose to continue focusing my energy on making money, with enough energy. What melon can't be twisted off? What melon dares not to be sweet? Months later, the system prompt suddenly sounded. Happy ending, mission progress, 100%, mission completed, leave this world. I opened the news and, as expected, saw the report of Mr. Gray passing away due to a sudden heart attack and untimely medical intervention. Closing my eyes, I bid farewell to the girl in my mind. After witnessing the Gray family father and son being driven out of the company and Rita being forced to donate a kidney, Valerie finally vented her pent-up anger. Even the strength of her soul solidified significantly. Suddenly hearing the news of my departure, Valerie panicked a little. You're leaving already? I nodded. I've already completed the plot for you. From now on, you're free. Her eyes were filled with reluctance. Can't you stay with me a little longer? I sighed. I gently touched her hair. All good things must come to an end. Your life belongs to you alone. During this time, I wasn't just completing tasks. I was also accompanying her, guiding her. As the female lead, the author has endowed Valerie with many outstanding qualities. However, in the life she had already lived, due to the unfairness of her parents and the bullying from her classmates, she lacked both the internal and external conditions to focus on her studies. During this exam preparation period, Valerie has been studying with me. Before the college entrance exam, I told her I could easily help her achieve the score she desired and get into any school she wanted. But the young girl told me she wanted to take the college entrance exam on her own. In her previous life, she was tormented by depression and couldn't take the college entrance exam. This time, she wanted to prove herself. The top provincial score was achieved through her own efforts. After the results were released, Mr. Gray spread malicious rumors, and the overwhelming public skepticism pushed Valerie to the brink of collapse once again. She cried bitterly, "Sister, even though I'm going to college, can I still not escape from them? Our Valerie is already amazing." I embraced her soul and comforted her softly. "Dealing with someone like Mr. Gray, leave it to your sister." Even counting these 2 years of rebirth, Valerie has only lived for 19 years. As a student, she was able to resist temptation and take the college entrance exam with integrity, which proves her character. She worked hard and caught up, achieving the top score in the province, which proved her abilities. At her age, being able to accomplish this is truly remarkable. The petty and dirty dealings of the adult world can be learned and dealt with slowly later on. The young girl before me had red-rimmed eyes. She hooked her pinky finger around mine, as if that could make me stay a little longer. I couldn't help but advise her, "From now on, you must live well, learn to build your own fortress of protection, and never hurt yourself because of outsiders again. I'm constrained by my mission and can't openly oppose Mrs. Gray, but your life has no such restrictions. If you don't want to manage the company, you can resign as chairman. The money in your account and future dividends are more than enough to secure your livelihood." "No," Valerie wiped away her tears and shook her head. "Sister, during this time, I've read many books and done many things with you. I understand now that slander is itself a form of admiration. If people say unpleasant things, just treat it as passing gas." She clenched her fists, her gaze resolute. "I won't retreat anymore. Original host's wish has been fulfilled. Preparing to leave this world. Task settlement in progress. Original host's order rating, 5 stars. Happy ending. Task progress, 100%. Counter green tea. Task progress, 200%. Upon hearing that the counter the green tea mission was doubly completed, I opened my eyes. Indeed, one should never provoke those who appear timid and honest. Even a rabbit will bite when pushed too far. True and fake heiress world cleared. Mission evaluation, S. Obtain special item, Rita's fish pond. Wearing this necklace increases the opposite sex's favorability towards you by 50%. Next world, the awakened villainess and the blackened original female lead. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.